Master here. We are doing Sensei UFC. You are gonna learn valuable lessons from this past weekend's UFC. Fight night. It was in Lincoln, Nebraska, and you are gonna learn 3 very valuable lessons that you can take back to your dojo, your gym, or the cage if you're a UFC fighter. All right, so stay tuned and we're gonna show you how you can learn from the UFC. All right, bing. All right, guys. First lesson I want to show you was Angela Hill versus Casey. Okay. Now, I showed this one before, but you see it happening again. When you low kick somebody that's coming in, especially someone that's taller than you, think of Gan McGee versus Pedro Hizzo. Watch that fight. When the taller person is not being kicked, but punching, and the shorter person is kicking a leg kick, and their hands aren't up, they're gonna get hit. And you never trade a right hand for a leg kick, because a leg kick might hurt, but a right hand might knock you out. So the ROI, the return on investment, is not a good one. Okay? That's not a good time to leg kick. So what happened was, she was leg kicking, right? And the right hand landed. It did not knock out Hill like it did Pedro Hizzo versus Gan McGee, but it still landed and it still hurt. And it scored a lot more than that kick did. Okay? So when you're kicking, your hands shouldn't be down. Okay? They should be up. The way you should kick. Okay, leg kick. Your hands should be up. But with that said, it's still not a good idea to leg kick someone who's standing right in front of you or coming in, either or. The return on investment is never as good if they're throwing a right hand and you're throwing a kick. So just don't do it. Kick when they're moving backwards or kick when they're moving to their side. Because when you're moving, you can't throw the right hand at the same time, unless you're moving forward or stationary. All right, so that's lesson number 1. All right, guys, this is lesson number 2. This fight is the ultimate, the quintessential example of the tactical stand-up gone bad. Gone completely bad. This was like the worst case scenario for a tactical stand-up, because while he was standing up, he got soccer kicked into concussionville. You don't want to go there. So if you end up on your back, right, whether it's in the street or the cage, you want to keep your opponent away with straight kicks. You want to make sure he stays at your feet, not on your side, because now you have no defense. He could kick you, punch you, or get on top of you. Okay? So you always want to make sure and kick, and it's better to stay here. You have no time limit. Just keep kicking him. If you try to stand up here, he's going to kick you in the head or punch you in the face. One or the other, or both. So you never want to stand up until you're safe to stand up. If it's in the ring or in the cage, you stand up either when he's all the way back or when the referee says up. Then you stand up, he's not allowed to hit you. In the street, you don't ever want to stand up like that. And if he got too close to you, then you want to grab him and hold on to his legs and try to take him down. But you don't want to just be here. There's never a reason to be here without either holding on to him and trying to take him down or trying to create more distance. You want him all the way back or all the way in. You don't want any middle ground, because this is not where you want to be. And that's what Williams did against Anders, and that was like the worst technical stand-up scenario. He was getting up this close, and he got like football kicked. And the only reason it was legal was because his hand just came off the ground. It was terrible. It worked out terrible. Please don't ever do that, guys. Make sure you keep your opponent away from you by kicking them, and don't ever try to stand up if they're close enough to attack you. Okay? So, lesson number 3, the cage is not a ring. When Muhammad Ali fought George Foreman, he was able to lean over the top rope and get out of the way of roundhouse punches and hooks.
Rope-a-dope.
He did the rope-a-dope. You can't cage a dope. It doesn't work because you're not going anywhere. So, James Vick was a taller fighter, and his strategy would have been, or should have been, keeping Gaethje away and landing the longer, straighter punches. The distance. He should have used his length at his advantage. But as soon as he hit the cage, I think he thought he could lean back. So when that overhand right started to come, he tried to move a little to the side because he couldn't move back, but it wasn't enough, and the punch landed. So if you're the taller fighter, if you have something you want to do on the cage, and you got that, you got some kind of strategy, then that's one thing. But just to use the cage to get out of the way of punches, it's not a good strategy. You might be able to tie someone up and maybe avoid a takedown off a clinch, but you're not going to avoid punches better against the cage. You just won't. Because you got nowhere to go, and you don't have the hip power or the momentum that the person who's facing the cage. This guy has a lot more power than this guy, okay? And you can't, it nullifies your reach because you can't lean back, and your opponent is dictating the distance. You're not, because your back's against the cage, so you can't go back anymore. Bad strategy. Do not put your back on the cage, especially if you're fighting a hard puncher, all right? Anyway, guys, so those are our 3 lessons that we learned from this past fight. We got the do not do a leg kick when your opponent can punch you in the face. You're always going to end up on the bum end of that stick. Okay? Don't try to stand up if somebody's standing over you and they're close enough to kick you in the face or punch you in the face. Do a proper tactical, technical stand-up. Okay? Some people call it tactical, some people call it technical. But it's standing up safely. All right? And number 3, use the cage to get away or to tie your opponent up. Don't use it to try to make distance and not get hit, because it's very unforgiving that way. Right? Anyway, those are our 3 lessons. Always come check out Sensei UFC. You're going to learn new techniques every time. Thanks for coming. Please subscribe and like.